Hi, welcome to the channel. Now today's video is about this NAD C350 it is. Now these videos I put up now are going to be every now and again kind of thing, as you know, as a few people, just in case you just come over to watch this video from nowhere. I'm not really going to put a load more up, but you may want to look at some back catalogues. You may still want to be subscribed. I'm still going to put a few up here and there to do with HiFi, but I'm probably going to put up a bit of junk as well. But you still may be interested, maybe some gaming or something like that, like I said before. Because I've kind of come to the time that I want to kind of stick with what I've got. I'm playing a game of cards, I'm going to stick at 18. I ain't got quite to 21, but I'm going to stick where I am, I think, for the time being, and chill out a little bit. But anyway, this is the NAD C350. I was recommended it by someone, as it happens. Someone that, you know, recommendations I've kind of followed here and there, and they seem to be pretty good. And, you know, obviously, it's not to everyone's taste. Sometimes you get something that someone recommends and you think, is that it? Is it better? It's kind of, when someone recommends you something, you kind of overhype it, don't you? Sometimes you're thinking, let's recommend this, must be really good, and all of a sudden you get it, you think, not as good, it's not bad, but not quite as good as I thought it'd be, kind of thing. I think that's what happens with recommendations sometimes, that you kind of build it up because you haven't heard it, you go and get it, or with anything really, you go and get it, and you think, not quite as good as I thought it was, you know what I mean, because I was expecting more, because it was kind of hyped up a bit. So I don't hype anything up here, I'm just saying, sometimes you get recommendations, you think, this must be really good, and it ain't quite as good as you thought it was. But yeah, so I just wanted my thoughts on this as well, as it happens. Not expensive to buy. This is about £60 to £80 here in the UK on eBay. This is bid up. Don't go and buy it now, because obviously some people are up for 150 quid and that. There's plenty of them about. This NAD stuff, all this NAD, there's plenty of NAD stuff about here in the UK. You look at it, there's hundreds of them. So if you don't, stay clear of this, buy it now and just do bid up. I mean, like I say, there's so many of them about. Some of these little receivers and that, and these little amplifiers, some go for £40, £38. I think I see one go for the other day. And you think, well, this is cheap, like, you know what I mean? This NAD stuff sounds, it's got a reasonable sound to it, and probably no matter which one you get, you can have a reasonable sound. You're not going to have a right crappy sound, kind of thing. You know, it's got a bit of a little bit of a reputation to it, kind of thing. And it's like I say, especially that NAD 3020. And you're going to get something a lot cheaper than that, you know, because that goes for about £150 to £200 at the moment here in the UK, and you get something half price or a quarter of the price for some of the other stuff. It's not going to be a million miles away from it, kind of thing. Just something to bear in mind, maybe. Not always got to go for that particular one. You can still get some bargains about, that's for certain. Okay, this is 50 watts a channel, into 8 ohms, into 4 ohms, 50 watts a channel. It's got some kind of censoring circuit on this, that no matter what speakers you put on it, 4 or 8, it's going to still deliver 50 watts a channel. So I thought that may compromise a little bit in the dynamics and the punch of this, where, you know, it's sorting this out, mate. I don't know if it does it as he's going along. It just says, oh, it's an 8 ohm pair of speakers, that's it, we'll stick with that. I'm not too sure how it works. I would have thought it's kind of continuously checking, I don't know. And you may think it's an amper or get in the way of other things happening, but it seems to do a pretty good job at that anyway. Right, one thing you're going to notice about this before we start is that this hasn't got an input for your record player, for your turntable. It hasn't got a phono input. So if you're connecting a record player to this, or turntable, whatever you want to call it, you want a little preamp phono stage in that, in your unit, or a separate one. Yeah, so you want either built-in or separate if you're going to connect to your record player up. So just be wary if you think, oh, I want to get that, but you've got your record player and you're not hearing much because it hasn't got the input, and you put it in one of the others, you've got it full on, you can hear a little something going on in the background. That's the reason why you need that little phono stage built in, or buy a separate one. Okay, got plenty of inputs. It's got 7 inputs here, so we're not, you know, you're not going to be stuck here. You're going to have trouble filling these 7 up, that's for certain. I would, let's put it that way. A quick look at the back, and as you can see, there's all the inputs at the back, and also the speakers. Just one set of speakers here. Come back around to the front, we've got a headphone socket, we've got bass treble, we've got a tone defeat, so we can turn the bass and treble off, and we've got the balance. Now, some amplifiers, when you turn the bass and treble off, this tone defeat, shall I say, you turn it off, it actually centres that balance to dead on centre, so you can't even turn the centre, you can't turn your balance either way. But on this particular amplifier, you still can, so you can still, even though that's off, you can still use your balance, worth mentioning, I suppose. And we've got a little volume control here. Now, these controls are very small, plasticky kind of thing. You know, it's not like the vintage kind of stuff that I'm used to, kind of thing, with nice chunky or silver or metal kind of controls, just to bear that in mind. But this is coming back up from vintage now. We're coming up into the year 2000 when this came out, so this is the reason why. Probably, I'm not too sure where this sat in the range, but it would have been towards the bottom-ish of the range. It's 50 watts, don't forget, so it would have been a little bit up from the bottom maybe. One other thing you're going to notice with this is, it does notice when you're listening to stuff as well, we've got no loudness control on this. so used to loudness control. This is the first amp with no loudness control that I've come across. Obviously, it's hundreds and hundreds of them, but I've got in my collection, shall we say, I've picked up for the channel. So on low volumes, you may be a little bit ampered there. You need to turn that around a little bit to get it kind of going, get it going kind of thing, get it in the mood kind of thing. So something else to bear in mind. In low volumes, it wasn't great. It was okay, but it's better when you start turning that knob around. That's for certain. Okay, I was told this was a little bit temperamental on speakers as well, which I kind of find out myself as it happens. Being one thing, if we go talk about the bass of this amplifier, it's got a reasonable punchy bass to it. It's reasonably detailed, the bass in that, but it's very taut, the bass. It's tight, it's very quick, and that's it kind of thing. You missed it kind of thing. So with them little Wolfdale diamonds I've got, it's only got a little cone, even though they're rear ported, seem to be a bit too tight. It seems to be like, boom, it's over and done with. I'm not getting the rest of the sound I'm expecting from the bass. So with them speakers, it was okay. It sounded okay, but it wasn't. It wasn't the best sound. Let's put it that way. It wasn't the best sounding with them Wolfdale speakers. So that they're straight away the first set of speakers. So I do usually start off with them and work my way up, kind of thing. I thought, oh, blimey, yeah, that is quite tight, that bass. But yeah, so like, going on to other speakers, so I kind of took them out of the equation, kind of thing, really. Even though it was okay with them, but I think you want something bigger cones maybe, or maybe just like saying, may just be it's a bit fussy with certain speakers, especially when it's got this auto detect kind of thing going on. Maybe this is something to do with it, I don't know. But I think also that bass being right tight, stopping dead. Like you may think, well, it's stopping a bit quick, but I think it's kind of right, but just you're not expecting it so quick and stops like in the dead. So that's the bass. Other than that, say it's got a reasonable amount of detail in it. Now I moved up the speakers. Now out of the speakers I've got, I've only got 4 or 5 pairs in now. I'm only supposed to keep 3, but I've got 5 pairs in now. The best sounding speakers, and this just let you know what I've got here. I've got the leading edge Mission still here. I've got my Monitor Audio B2 speakers. I've got my Dynaco A35 speakers, and I've got the Dynaco A25 speakers now as well. And I think the best sounding out them speakers I connected up was the little bookshelf Monitor Audio B2 speakers. It kind of sung with them speakers, really got into it and really sounded nice with them speakers, because the mid-range is quite nice on this amplifier, vocals are quite nice, guitar, sax, and had that timbre to it. It was quite a nice sounding amplifier. I would say this amplifier is, when you compare it with other NAD amplifiers, this is a little bit, I'm not saying it is aggressive, but it's just a little bit on the aggressive side, you know what I mean? It's just got that little bit more raw edge to it kind of thing, edginess to it, than when you compare it with the warm sounding, cuddly sounding kind of thing as the NAD 3020 would kind of produce kind of thing. But it is clearer on here. It is clearer on here, like the definition was clearer on here than it is on the NAD 3020. It's got that kind of, it's got a reasonable amount of airiness to it and space to the instruments, and that it's not as spatial as mine Sansui 331 for instance, but it has got some space to it. It's got some airiness to it. It's space around the instruments. It's not all tight. You've got that bit of space, which is good, and like I say, it's quite a clear sound amplifier. I'm not saying it's over detailed or anything like that. It's not top of the range detail or anything like that, but for what you're paying for and what it is, it's got a reasonable amount of detail to it. It's not too bad at all. Like I'm saying, it really pretty much showed up with them bronze B2s. It really did. So yeah, it's quite a nice sounding amplifier with them. Like I say, the top end is quite nice as well. Like I say, I mentioned this, don't get put off by this aggression, but when you compare it to the other amplifiers, it just seems a little bit more edgier and a tad more aggressive than the amplifiers that I'm kind of used to with NAD kind of thing. But it's got that NAD sound kind of embodied into it anyway, but it's just got that edginess and that little bit of harshness to it, you could say. But it's quite a nice sounding amplifier. And yeah, that's it really. I mentioned the sound stage. Yeah, the sound stage and everything was focused kind of thing. The instruments, the vocals and all that was quite nicely placed and everything. Yeah, it went on just beyond the speakers, that kind of thing. Like I mentioned the airiness and yeah, so that's it. Yeah, all in all, not a bad little amplifier really for what Don't overpay for it if you're looking to get one. £60 to £80, that's kind of where it sits. I think it's quite nicely priced. And when you compare this to what that Marantz PM505 5005, this is better than that, that's for certain. This is much better than that Marantz. I've got that Marantz downstairs. It seems to do an okay job doing my surround. I'm not really listening to anything down there, I'm just listening to the TV, and that it does an okay job, you know what I mean? It does all right down there, but it sounds better. It's got more detail into it, and that it's a nicer sounding amplifier, this one, compared to that Marantz. And that Marantz you're going to pay about 120 quid, somewhere around there at the moment on eBay, places like that, and you're going to get this for £60 to £80, and this is better. And this is remote control as well. That's another thing. Where's my remote? over there. But it's got a nice little remote control with it as well, so you can do the remote. That's it really. I think I pretty much mentioned all that. Like I say, you know, it's an amplifier that maybe you should be just a little bit careful which speakers you kind of have with this. So if you've only got one set of speakers, you could be just a little bit lumbered, maybe just a little bit. Maybe a bit unlucky you've got a set that you don't quite like or is not quite getting on with. But yeah, it sounded okay with my Dynaco A35s and 25s. It sounded fine, but I just felt it sounded nicer with maybe a set of speakers that are more modern, shall we say. They're more modern, they're more up-to-date set of speakers. So that's maybe what you should aim for as well, is a set of speakers that are a little bit more modern rather than vintage, because they kind of give more of a vintage sound, which probably just didn't quite suit this amplifier. With a more modern sound did, and that's maybe why the modern speakers sounded better. That's only my guess really, to be honest with you, but it could be the reason why as well. Okay, until the next video, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.